Hello and welcome to the latest video podcast from iBook Publishing with me, Steve Syder. People ask me, what's the unique selling point that iBook Publishing has? What is it that should persuade authors to trust you with their manuscript? And I think that's best summed up with one phrase really, and that phrase is attention to detail. Last week in the video podcast, I talked about the quality assurance processes that we put the books through once we've converted them and before we're prepared to distribute them. So I hope that gave you some kind of idea of the attention to detail that we do apply. Of course, the most important part of the book are the words that you've written and that you've so carefully crafted. But unless that's portrayed well and formatted in a business-like, professional-looking manner, it's dramatically going to reduce the chance of your making a sale. So we really believe that we have to get that absolutely right to help you sell your book. To demonstrate this, what I've got this week are two examples. The first one is what can happen if a book is converted using automated software and then just put up for sale and not actually checked for anyone. And the second example shows the same piece of work but formatted using iBook publishing processes and iBook publishing quality assurance processes. So let's just take a look at those two examples now. As you can see in this example, I've changed the words to Latin for privacy and copyright reasons. But what this is supposed to be is the end of the final chapter of part 1 of a book, and then a title announcing part 2, a chapter heading, and then the beginning of the first chapter for part 2 of the book. Now what's happened, because this has been done automatically with no one actually looking at it and checking it on a computer or any mobile device, is the whole thing has rolled onto one page. There have been no control page breaks. The part 2 title should really be centered, as should the chapter 1 heading, and both of those have just left justified. Neither of them has thrown a page break beforehand. The actual writing of the chapters itself is not particularly well formatted, and the whole thing just ends up looking rather amateurish. So let's take a look now at an example of an iBook publishing formatted one of the same document. What you can see in this example is the start of chapter 1 of part 2 of the book. And what's happened is the final chapter of part 1 has finished on a page of its own. We've then got a separate page announcing part 2, and the part 2 title has been centered in the same way as this chapter heading has. We then start chapter 1 of part 2 of the book on a new page all of its own, just to make the whole thing look a lot cleaner and a lot crisper. You'll then notice that the font, I think, is a more pleasing size in the actual text of the chapter itself. It's been justified, which I think gives a crisper, more professional finish to it. And perhaps most importantly, the first line of each new paragraph has been indented. This is a mechanism used for ebooks to signal the start of a new paragraph, because if you put a blank line, as you would do in a Word document, to signal a new paragraph, what happens is, if the reader changes font size or even font typeface and so on their e-reader or their iPad or whatever mobile device they're using, blank lines can make it look an awful mess, and you can have very big blank lines and it just looks wrong. So that's why this mechanism is used. So we believe that we achieve this at iBook Publishing because we look at every manuscript. Once we've converted it, we physically go through and try it on different devices and make sure it looks as good as you would want it to look. And we never distribute it to the online retailers until we're satisfied that if it was our piece of work that was being published out there, we'd be happy with the way it looks. So I hope those two examples have given you some food for thought and given you the opportunity to start to think about once you have crafted your manuscript, where you'd like to go with it and what's important to you. Really, our target market at iBook Publishing are those writers who believe they've produced a genuine quality piece of work that they believe people would be prepared to pay money to read. We think that what we offer them is a quality of format that matches the effort and the quality that they've created with their manuscript. And so if you fit into that category, pop along to our website, have a look at our services, have a chat with us, send email, and let's see if we can help you to get to an audience that will actually pay for your hard work. If, on the other hand, you're an author who really has created a book because you enjoy the creative writing process and it's more of a hobby, but you'd quite like it to get to a bigger audience, for people to read it, and it is only a hobby, you're less concerned about reaching a necessarily very wide audience from different online sellers. You're not concerned about having an ISBN or being registered with the British Library. If you'd just like a wider audience, you may well find that some of the free automated services out there are satisfactory for what you're trying to achieve. But in any case, whether you fall into the first camp or the second camp, I'm more than willing to help and give advice. If you contact me via the contact page of our website, I'll do my best to help you and hopefully see your work online soon and getting to a bigger audience. Until next time, thank you very much for listening and goodbye.